Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates, with your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to be talking to Soma, who is the inventor of the RPM method. And if you've been following along, you've probably heard about 5 or 6 moms so far talk about how their kids use RPM and they learned how to communicate. So I thought I would bring her on to talk about exactly what RPM is, how it works, how she started it. And so stay tuned for today's episode to learn more. Hi, everyone. This is Cindy with another episode of Spectrum Perspectives, and I have a very special guest with us today. If you've been listening regularly to our episodes, the last few episodes, every single mom has talked about the rapid prompting method and how their kids have used RPM to begin communicating. And a couple of the moms are even authors now and even wrote books about what their sons were talking about. So I said, I need to bring Soma on. They all mentioned Soma, that she was the creator of RPM. And I'm very excited to have Soma with us today. Hi, Soma. Welcome to the show. I am not even going to attempt to say your last name. If you could just tell everyone what your name is, please.
My name is Soma-Creator, I started a rapid prompting method.
Wonderful.
So first I began this with my son, and after that I extended it to the other children, whoever needs my services.
Okay, so what is your son's name?
My son's name is Tito, T-I-T-O, Tito.
Okay. So how old is Tito?
He's 33.
33. All right. So tell me, was he born in India?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell me about your pregnancy. Was everything okay during your pregnancy? There was no problems?
No.
No, nothing.
No.
And then what about his delivery?
Everything was fine.
Everything was fine. So, and then what about his development? Did he crawl on time and walk on time, or?
Yes.
Everything was okay. So when did you see the first signs of autism?
When he was around 2 years old, because around the 2 years old, that's the sensory motor thought stage of a student, of any person. So during the sensory motor thought stage, all the sensory channels are supposed to connect. The first, by the time a child is 2 years old, all the sensory channels have to connect. Only then the motor function, because the motor functions are the sum total of the sensory information that is going in and out. Mm-hmm. And it was not matching with the other children I saw. And then I heard the name autism. And from there, because there was no path, so either you find a path. If you don't find a path, you have to make one. So I had no other option but to make a path.
Make a what? A park?
A path. P-A-T-H, path.
Oh, a path. I'm sorry. Okay. Your voice is a little bit delayed, so it's a little bit hard for me to hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
So to create a pathway, and you have to create a learning pathway over there. So learning involves sensory learning. It involves information learning. It also involves motor learning. So all these learning have to merge in order to form a system so that he can sort of be a part of everything around.
Where did you hear the word autism?
In Calcutta, in a city called Calcutta, where I took him for diagnosis.
That's what I want to know. Did a doctor diagnose him as autism, or this is something you figured out on your own?
Oh, no. He got a diagnosis.
Okay, so you went to your doctor and you said that he's not meeting these, something's not right. And you asked them for a diagnosis. Okay, and they diagnosed him with autism.
Yes.
Okay. And what is your background?
I have a master's in chemistry, in organic chemistry, and I also have the bachelor's in education.
Okay. And this is why I was wondering how you're the first person to explain to me what happens at 2 years old. All the other moms just say the doctor's diagnosed him, but you're giving me a deeper explanation. about the motor
Yes.
pathways.
Yeah, see, this is the sensory motor pathway, which is a very crucial pathway. Usually around 2, a child should know this, should do this. It has to match. Because after that, between the ages of 2 to preschool, that is the pre-operational thought stage. And in the pre-operational thought stage, children begin to imitate. But then you see
They
in
begin to imitate.
autism,
Okay. Yeah.
because imitating and then doing. And then you see a group of the autistic people, either they hyper imitate, that is echolalia, or hypo imitate, where there is absence of imitation. And so when there is absence of imitation, which was there with my son, of course, how will you imitate without the motor skills? And if the sensory pathways are not connecting, you are not getting the motor skills. Right. So without imitation, you can have 50 hours of speech. You can have this, say, Baba Bear, it's not going to happen. Children may think about in their mind, but imitation is a motor skill. So you can have all these beautiful therapies around, but in the absence of that, nothing is happening.
Right. I remember when my son was first diagnosed and someone was talking about their son, he was using facilitated communication and he was saying, I'm saying that I want a cracker, but I really want a cookie. And the wrong word was coming out. And that told me something's not connecting.
Yeah, they are not connecting because the language area, the Broca and the Wernicke area, they are in the left side of the brain, and the speech producing area is in the right side. And this message has to cross through the corpus callosum that separates the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Now, due to the interconnectivity of the neurons, the message does not pass. So what the voice is saying is something that is with muscle memory, it's automatically saying, versus what the real thought is, it stays over there in the left side.
Right. Okay. So now tell me about your son. So he was diagnosed, and was he was nonverbal, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah, in the beginning, but not anymore. Because through RTM, you first work the motor.
Right.
And these fingertips are very close to the speech center. So that's why there's no option that if children say that what to do, my hands are not working. So for me, as a parent, if you can pick up your food and eat, you can do other things also. So it's not exactly the motor skills, it is selective motor. So if you look at an autistic person, you have 3 types of vision. One is the generalized vision, like Temple Grandin vision. Right. So people go to Temple Grandin's lecture, feel good about it. Oh, my child is going to like cows, but it's not happening. Okay. No, I'm telling like that. You read,
yes.
Then you have selective vision. Out of all the things in the world, the student selects his own iPad and sees, or picks up something, visual preference, okay, where there's a visual target. Or you see a global vision where the muscles, see, you have the ciliary muscles in the eyes, which makes us turn our eyes, those muscles are not working.
Oh
yeah. So
that's why they're looking up and around like that all the time?
Yeah, because the muscles are not working. I want to look over there, but wherever, because my muscles are not working. So there's a kind of a laziness in the eyes over there, because everything is, we have muscles. Muscles are going to make us move, make things move. And if those are not working, so you can say, look, it's not happening. Okay, so you see so many therapies, look, and it's not happening because the muscles are not working. People don't know the biology and they become the therapists and then what to do. Now, then you have auditory. Right. Now, auditory also, you have generalized auditory where I'm attending to the teacher. Okay, whatever the teacher I'm attending. Then I have selective auditory. Out of all the things in the world, I am just selectively listening to my own scripted thing, whatever I'm listening to. And then you have global auditory where I'm not auditorily interested in anything. All the sounds become one, quack, 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 din. Right. So you can see that is auditory. Now tactile. because tactile is an important part of the learning channel. Now, tactile learning channel involves generalized tactile. Those children can sit. They can sit anywhere. They can sit at a doctor's office. They can stay like that. And so these children, they get accepted in the school because they can sit.
Mm-hmm.
They can sit for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have selective tactile. I can sit over here, I can sit over here, but no, I can't sit at the doctor's chair. I can't sit at the dentist's chair. So there you see that tactile discomfort where you can sit. I can pick up my blanket selectively, but the moment a pencil comes over there, I'm going to drop it. That is selective tactile. Right. Okay. And then you have global tactile, where I'm just going to explore all the different things. I'm just going to touch, but I'm just touching because it's not that there's no tactile target as such. I'm touching everything. Mm-hmm. I'm touching people's hair, I'm touching this, I'm touching this, I'm touching everything. So that is global tactile, where I'm not making any selection, everything. It's a little tricky to manage global tactile because they call it pica, but actually what is pica? That is global tactile, where I'm just going to pick up one thing over there and just put it in the mouth. And then you have the kinesthetic. Now, kinesthetic is also a learning channel, but kinesthetic is not exactly a sensory learning channel. It is the assembling. So you see a group of autistic children, they can write, they can type, they don't need any assistance, nothing. Mm-hmm. That is generalized kinesthetic. Then you have some children who are kinesthetic, they are selectively kinesthetic. I can do this, I can do that, I can write this letter, or I can draw this SpongeBob, but I can't do that. Right. That is selective kinesthetic. Right. I can swim, but I can swim doesn't mean I'm going to be able to write. Right. So that's a selective kinesthetic. And global kinesthetic is where the movements are sort of random movements, where you see children are stimming with their hands, then anytime you don't see any kind of a pattern over there, or there can be a learned pattern, stimming, like some kind of a memorized, what is stim? It's kind of a memorized kinesthetic pattern over there that is going on. But beyond that, it's not. So now, once I categorize the children, it becomes so easy for me to introduce a new skill, a new visual skill of the letterboard, a new kinesthetic skill of independent typing, and all kinds of things. I try to assemble these, work on those sensory channels, and then you see that if the language is there, the production is there. See, so everything is working separately, then you won't be able to assemble them. You have to assemble them, right?
Right. So in one of the books that I read, she took her son to one of the workshops where she learned the RPM, and the woman that worked with her said, I can tell that your son is an auditory learner. And then she told her how to talk to him. She said, speak to him as though he's blind. When you go for a walk, talk to him about the trees and the leaves and the veins and the leaves and all these kind of things, right? So it wasn't just about, tapping letters. It was the first thing she did was what you're talking about. She identified what type of a learner he is. Yeah.
See, that way, people write different things like that. So that kind of a thing. Now I'm discovering how to work on speech. I'm getting children to speak. But you need to do the independent letterboard, because this fingertips and other things are very connected to the speech part. I'm getting children to speak.
So tell me about the RPM. How did you come up with it? How did you figure, first of all, tell me what it is, and then tell me how you came up with that. Just people are going to be listening, then I want them to understand.
Well, rapid prompting method is a method to engage the student with the kind of a sensory where the teacher teaches. So it's a method to empower the student, a means to express learning, understanding, which are different. I can learn 2 times 2, but I have to understand where to apply it. Reasoning and thoughts, right? By identifying the open learning channels at that instant of learning, because open learning channels shift around. So now the student is selectively visual. Now the student becomes tactile and picks up this, because sometimes children are from now to now, they are different learning channels. And that's how you adapt. You segment a session into different, a whole session into different segments, and then you adapt your teaching skills so that you get the maximum output from the student.
Okay. And then tell me about how they use a stencil.
Oh, no, they use stencil for a kind of a tactile adaptation, and then and then we have all these different letterboards like that. So from stencils, they move on to a flat surface over there to the letterboard. See, we have all these different boards. We have the currency board where they
with the money on it.
I know, yeah. See, they take it to the. We have all these different kinds of adaptations.
Okay, so it's more of a whole learning method. It's not just about speech.
Oh, no. It's not about speech. You know, a typical person would need, when you're making a curriculum for a typical person, it would be more like this information curriculum. I learn information about geography, history, all these things. But an autistic person would need an additional curriculum, that is sensory curriculum.
Oh, sensory curriculum. Okay, interesting.
Without some sensory curriculum, it's not going to happen. You want children to be more getting better and better, right? It's not, see, there in RPM, there's no skill ceiling. You get good at the letterboard, then you go to writing. You are good with writing, then you go to maybe typing independently. Then you are good with typing independently. Okay, the teacher is going to be not. Now let's go to the speech, like that. So there's no skill ceiling like that.
Mm-hmm. So how do you begin? What's the first thing that you do when you begin to work with a child? Usually
we begin with a very simple thing, because you are beginning with a process. Okay, so when you introduce, so I have to remember 6 things at a time. Okay, I call this mental mapping. I have a red book in that, Understanding Autism, using RPM. In that, there's a chapter called mental mapping. So whatever, any kind of an output goes through 6 stages. The first stage is encoding. So now in the beginning, children may know A, B, C, D, but in this letterboard, it's a new encoding, because an autistic person, generalization doesn't happen right away. So I know A, B, C, D. Okay, now I know A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like that. Okay, now spelling is a kind of a randomness over there in the arranging the letters. So first is encoding, where the student gets visual encoding to the process, teacher's voice, auditory encoding. Okay, then this teacher is going to teach me this. Okay, so information encoding. So then tactile encoding, where will the student be? So that is creating a kind of a system, that is the encoding. Then it goes to expectancy. Expectancy is the short-term goal. And here prompt comes, right? So here prompt comes is, lift your elbows up. See, letterboard itself, what is a letterboard? Letterboard itself is a letterboard and number board. These are visual prompts. Because without prompt, nothing is going to happen, if not, or the stencils. Right, so those are visual prompt. Auditory, lift your elbows up. See, then kinesthetic prompt. See, I'm going to show you. See, this is how we move. See, this is how we move. Now you do it yourself. This is how we touch the letter C. Now let me see you touch the letter C yourself without me touching. See, so that is where the this expectancy comes, which is the short-term goal at doing the micromanaging. Okay. Then comes the affect. So when the student sees that, oh, okay, I can do this, that this teacher is not going to sit and test me, tell me what is this, touch that, pick up the red triangle, then the affect comes, which is very important, because when the affect comes, then it is easy that after that comes goals and values, right? So the student sees the larger goal and value, And then comes the integration of abilities, where the student is going to integrate his ability, integrate his sensory channels, and focus on that, touching those letters. Either it is on stencil or letterboard. And then self-regulatory plan. Like self-regulatory plan is children are seeing themselves as parts. This arm is doing this hand is doing something, this leg is doing something. So self-regulatory plan is assembling the body. What will my body do? Where will my body position? Where will my eyes look? All those things are said. Only then, so as a teacher, I work on those along with this. So that is how it starts.
Regulating their whole body. So you're saying everything is sort of all separate things to them.
Everything is separate, because like if the tactile learning channel is not generalized, a student won't be able to tell where it hurts, because the tactile learning channel is not working. They can does it hurt? They can say yes. Or where is it hurting? Either it will be the head or tummy. No one will say knee. No one will say tooth. So it is either head or tummy, and then they get aspirin after aspirin. Oh yeah. Without the tactile awareness, see, that's why there in RPM, when people learn RPM, they look at the letterboard, they feel great. But then only the letterboard and spelling and communication, where idealistic communication is happening, that is not exactly the whole body mapping. In order to student has to be aware of the body, otherwise they'll say any random thing, that this part is hurting, that part is hurting, because there's a demand to where is it hurting.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids that have a very high pain threshold too. It seems that they don't feel pain.
Without generalized tactile, learning channel open. Of course, the pain threshold, it won't get, children won't be able to report it.
So give me examples of, like, if different kids have different learning styles. So what's the difference in how you would work with them? Like once establish, how they learn, and then you want to put it all together. I'm assuming that you don't just work the same way with every kid, because they're all.
Oh, no. Different students would need different things. So for example, some children I work with just for speech. Okay, and then some children I work with, I work more on one-on-one basis. Let me show you. Like for example, over here, because at this, you are working with many things. You are not only working with children's motor skills, you are working against children's impulse, because children would have sudden impulse. You are working against OCD. You're working against excitatory stim, because those are the kinesthetic combinations that can inhibit learning. Right. So it would be a whole different thing. Wait, let me show you a few. This is an activity-based RPM. Okay, so we are going to think about it. So we are going to make a man or a boy story. B-O-Y, boy story. So now, in a boy story, so this is a story of a boy, and you're going to draw the head of a boy. Head of the boy, neck, shirt, this, two legs. So here, but when he began only with spelling. Now we are working on the pencils and drawing skills, because we have to assemble other things in order to generalize. So I'm working with him since he was this little. Okay, now suppose you are looking at something like a beginner. Okay, with a beginner, you have to move a little more. Counting one number. One, yes. 2 plus 1, 3. 2. See, he's ready to leave. He's ready to leave. This one. Suppose I do 3 plus 1 and 3 minus 1. We are counting forward and backward. Will you sit like this in the board? 3 plus 1. So here he is learning a motor skills. Here, look at his arms, legs.
Yes.
3 minus 1 up the back foot. Minus this. Yeah. See, look at that. So over here, I have to use the last tenses because his performance is just this, and then his tactile thing is there, and then you see he can't sit long. But then if he roams around that big room, then he won't be able to. I won't be able to do anything. I'll just be following him. Right? Many times people bring the therapist inside the house to therapy them inside, and what the therapist is doing, just following them around. Mm-hmm. See, so for me, I would say, what is he doing? Like, is he taking the student from A to B? Because if the student is not getting from A to B, and last year the student was doing A, and this year the student is still doing A, so there's something wrong. Those therapies may be free, but freedom comes at free things come at a cost. And so then you see that sometimes children are sort of a little better. Now, some children are resisting, so then they start spelling with their legs. Oh, geez. What to do? You have
He's using his foot.
Oh, yeah. He's using, because he decided he's not going to work. So you have to work around it. So as a teacher, you have to have all these different plans in pocket. If the student does this, you have to do this, because it's not that everyone is going to come happy and they are going to spell all their thoughts out. Mm-hmm. Children come with all these different like plans. Let me check her that way. Okay. Then, now this is my son, because he went from letterboard to write. So he began to write, and then no one needs the letterboard anymore. See? So here he says the letters aloud and writes it. Okay. Now, then you have some children are working on, like, let's see, some children are working on other skills. With. So do you know what happens to it? Self-dictation. Good. Then N, then I, then M, then A, then L. See, so if at all, to bring the like a speech, because then with the speech comes self-dictation, and then we learn the kinesthetic skill of writing. See, this pointing is a kinesthetic skill. Mm-hmm. But this is a higher kinesthetic skill. Anyone who can write can type. You want children to get better and better and better. So this is my son's typing. See, so his speed is better. See? And there you don't need all these things, communication partners and all those things. You don't need, because with the practice, things get better. So then you see with another kind of a beginner. Okay, so here we have a student who is having this kind of an OCD. She wants to close and open the blinds. So that's it. I'll do that. But wait, again, let's delay it. You won't be able to. S, N, yes, you won't be able to see it. I'll do that. But what we're going to do is we have to delay it. I'll just show you. So you're going to spell one more spelling, then I'll do that. Okay. It's called delaying. So there are 3 ways in which you can counter a kind of an OCD. Number 1 is delaying, by giving them an activity. We're going to spell one more thing. Okay. Diluting it, where you are involving what the student is doing at the localized attention of the student into a lesson. And then scrambling, which is a sensory scrambling. So a teacher should know exactly when to delay, when to dilute, when to scramble.
So for instance, like that girl that she wanted to open and close the blinds, how would, if you were scrambling, what would you do?
No, for her, delaying worked. I just said, wait, delaying worked.
Yes, you did. You delayed, right?
See, people don't realize self-control. People put everything as a behavior. Self-control is a motor skill. If the self-control, so you see, children can start something, but if that motor skill is not there, Children can kind of keep doing. You can say, stop, stop. It's not going to happen because no one worked on the motor skills. See, so it's, and then
Right. They're working on the behavior, but not the motor skills.
They're putting everything as a behavior like that.
Right.
This is good behavior, this is bad behavior. You know, most of the therapies are so rudimentary. Like the theories are so rudimentary like that. There's no one knows any science. People come over there, people become therapists because with their emotion. I'm not doing out of my emotion. I'm looking at everything as a kind of a mechanical system, including me. And then what works, I'm applying, and what did not work, I'm not going to waste the students' time with what did not work.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right. So you're looking at it as a science, you know, looking at the whole body as a science.
I'm looking at everything like a kind of a mechanical system. Yeah, science is kind of a word. Nowadays, they are saying psychology is also science, which is not science, like that. So neuroscience is science.
So all of these methods that you use, how did you come up with this? Just from working with kids and teaching, you just sort of experimented with doing this and that until you kind of got to where you are now, or?
Yeah, you need one student to make a theory. Then you need another student to add to the theory. And then I have 11 sessions a day. I work with 11 students a day.
Right. So you didn't just do this with your son first. You were working with other students and
no, I did it with my son. I came to the United States because Cure Autism Now Foundation, Portia Iverson, from there, they invited me.
Wait, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What Autism Foundation?
Cure Autism Now. Now it is called Autism Speaks.
Oh yeah, CAN. Yeah. Cure. Yeah, CAN. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And now it's Autism Speaks. Okay, so you came here because of Autism Speaks.
Yeah, because at that time it was Cure Autism Now, a foundation, and because Tito could handle a computer and a mouse, because the kind of tests they would do in University of California, San Francisco, that required a good way use of mouse without facilitation, like that. So you can that kind of a thing, like, because with facilitation you don't know where it originated, right? Now the thing is that so we were supposed to go back, and September 11th happened, and our trip back to India got postponed. And there, Portia and others, families over there asked me to work with their children. And I put the same philosophy I put with Tito. And it worked. Then I got a fellowship. And then after that, 60 Minutes happened. And when 60 Minutes happened, I got all these information. And at the same time, Tito's book was also out. They made a documentary on Tito, like a Tito story. The BBC made the documentary on Tito when he was 12. Oh yeah.
I have to look all these things up. So you were on 60 Minutes.
Oh yeah, 60 Minutes we were there. Then once happens, then you have the other copycat news channels also happened, like Good Morning America, CNN. They all happened over there. And then sort of I got these plethora of job offers, and now I'm over here. And then I'm working. So I'll work over here as long as I matter. And once I stop mattering, then I'll go back to India.
So explain to me, when sometimes if you touch the elbow and you support the arm.
No, why should I do that?
Oh, you don't do that when they're in the beginning, when they're first doing it? You don't touch their arm. They just do everything on their own?
No. Why should I do that?
I don't know.
Oh no, I show them. See, this is how I do the muscle memory. This is how we touch letter A. This is how, because if you support the arm, then children get very comfortable. I've seen that. Then see, this is what happens when people do the support over there, support communication. Children are just looking anywhere, and
right. They're not paying attention. Right.
And children are, the person who is holding the letterboard is concentrating on the letterboard. Then you don't know, then it doesn't look good.
Right. Well, I think this has been the criticism, is that people think that the child is not actually tapping the letters. They think the person that's supporting them is really doing all of it.
You see, where am I supporting you? Have a look at that. See, with my son, did you see anyone touching him?
No.
See, now watch over here also. See, look. So he's self-dictating. Wait, let me show you where I'm doing letterboard, classical letterboard. Okay. See, I'm standing 1 mile away. Who's touching him?
No one.
No, like people get all confused. What to do? You know, this letterboard thing, people target with facilitated. They say, oh, and once children do the spelling over there, then they think that, okay, letterboard is the solution, and beyond that, we don't go. Oh, no, we go beyond that.
Right, that's just the beginning.
Oh, letterboard is the beginning.
Mm.
Then we go to handwriting. You see so many people at handwriting.
Right.
Oh, we have to upgrade the skills, otherwise there would be a skill plateau, and skill plateau is so boring. See, if at all I had to read the same book every day, that would be so boring. Where's the adventure? So here we have to create a kind of an adventure so that the student knows, oh, tomorrow I have to learn something new and look forward to it. Otherwise it will become one skill plateau. Okay, 2001 he was spelling, now 2020 he's still spelling on the letterboard, and then he's going to continue like that. How boring.
Okay, that's it for part 1. Be sure to tune in for part 2. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. To see the video version of the show, go to our YouTube channel, Robbie and Me, Autism Reality. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of today's episode. Be sure to join us again next time to hear the second half of the interview on Spectrum Perspectives.